I'm an OAP now, and I have hunted. I had safe horses, very good horses. This one is a young horse, and he's thrown me off quite a few times. As Mark's always said, it's the rider, not the horse. And I've tried to stay on, and I think I'm getting better. What I want to do is to be able to jump without thinking about it. At the moment, I'm still slightly nervous, to be frank.
In order to feel safe jumping cross country, you are going to have to be able to assess different fences and the different speeds you need to be jumping at them. Therefore, it is obviously there are certain fences that it is appropriate to go and attack, if you like, and there's certain other ones that if you attack, you're only going to A&E. So identifying those is extremely important. When you go out hunting, traditionally there will be one fence here, and then you've got a whole field before you reach the next field boundary. So you have plenty of time between your fences. If you start going cross country, you will meet things like combination fences, and they are one prime example of where you have to slow down. So we want you to be confident that going up and down through the gears on this horse at a speed that would be appropriate for most fences. Bear in mind that most cross-country fences have an element of width. Even if they're only a log, they're still probably as wide as they are high. So the appropriate speed for cross-country will probably be quicker than it is if you were doing show jumping. When you come to jump the fences cross-country, as you have got older, as I have got older, our reactions slow down. Therefore, we have to stack the cards more in our favour and make sure that we're approaching them at a speed with which, when something happens, we can cope with it. If we're going at 40 miles an hour, things happen so quickly, next thing we know, we're in the new-now, and off we go to A&E. Whereas, if we've slowed them to 15 miles an hour, we have a fighting chance of being as quick as the animal. Remember, this animal has only as a species survived because it's quick. And as we get older, it becomes, the youngster in particular, becomes too quick for us on many occasions. If you like to have a look round, you see the white flags all the way around. Would you like to have a trot round there, first of all, just so that, the reason I ask you to trot round is very simple. Right? If he's going to spook at something, a hedge, something, you know, pheasant to get up, whatever it is, I'd far rather he did it in trot, because when you're trotting at 8 miles an hour, if he does something, there's a realistic chance you're going to stay there. If you're going along at 38 miles an hour and he goes sideways, the chances, the cards are stacked against you. All we can do is to stack the cards in your favour. Nothing is ever guaranteed with horses, but if we stack the cards against you long enough and hard enough, guess what? It'll go pear-shaped. So we're going to do our best to stack the cards in your favour. Right, off you go then. In order to fall off, your shoulders have to come in front of your knees. When I stand here, if my shoulders come in front, I lose my balance, right? If your shoulder stays behind your knee, you can't fall off, right? If you think about it, who rides the fastest, wildest horses in the country? Jockeys.
Jockeys?
Yeah. How short do they ride?
They ride very short.
Do you know why?
No.
Because they're safer.
Streamlining,
they're safer. No, with their knee up there, when the thing leaps around and jumps around, guess what? It's virtually impossible for them to fall off because their shoulder can't come in front of their knee. So they are a lot safer by riding short.
What happens when the horse jumps sideways? If it refuses to jump and goes sideways,
yep.
How do you then stay on?
You make sure that your shoulders stay right. Think about this. Right, here I am coming to the, and the horse goes this way. Right, if the horse goes that way and this leg weight stays into this leg, I can't come on. Your horse, remember, people fall off not so much because the horse goes sideways as that he decelerates. Right? Very often if a horse runs out at a fence, he actually is going sideways and decelerating at the same time. And when he decelerates is when your shoulders come in front of your knees. That's when you tip forwards, your shoulders come in front of your knees, and he's going sideways. Well, that just compounds the problem. But the problem is that because he decelerates, your shoulders come forward and get in front of your knees. So by having your knee up, within theory, the shorter your stirrup is and the higher your knee is, the less likely you are to come off. We like what we saw when you were going round because obviously the horse was going in a calm manner for you, right? We think if you had a bit more weight in your legs, your lower leg wouldn't move. And if your lower leg doesn't move, you are that much safer. If your lower leg, you tend to do what an awful lot of people of our age do. We were taught to ride by gripping with your knees. And if you grip with your knee, your lower leg gets on the swing. And when your lower leg flies back, your heel comes up, and that's when it's very easy to come off. So very much the weight in your legs. The more you can do when you go out, it doesn't matter whether you're doing it in trot or in canter, standing up in the stirrups is a tremendous way of building strength to make you safer when you jump. In other words, this is when you're out hacking, you go out for an hour, you stand up. Obviously you don't stand up in the stirrups until your calf muscles scream, because if you do, you'll actually damage the fibres of the muscle. Little and often. Stand up for 30 seconds, go rising trot, get rid of the lactic acid through the muscle, stand up again. The more you do that, the better your weight will stay in your legs when you jump. So every time you hack out, wherever it is, if you're doing the standing up exercise, you are actually making yourself far safer for when you jump. If you haven't got those muscles, guess what? You won't be able to keep the weight in your heel. Your heel is your shock absorber. Your toe is held up by the stirrup and your heel goes doing, 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 doing. Now when you land over a fence, that's exactly what you want it to do. So the work that you do in trot and in canter prepares you muscularly in order to be able to jump. People tend to think of jumping as a completely separate entity. If you can work the right muscles, even in the days when you don't jump, then you will find the jumping will get so much easier. So we're going to see you canter around again, and you're going to be off his back.
Shall we try it one hole shorter?
Best news I've heard all day. Ever so important as we get older, we get that flexibility in our ankle. As we get older, we all get stiffer in our joints, and that joint is the most important one when we jump. So if all the time we're cantering, we can be loosening that joint up, it's going to help tremendously. What we'd like to see, right, the sort of pace that you're going at the moment, you would say was a nice show jumping canter, right? Now when you start jumping cross-country fences that have a bit more width to them, we need to be a little bit more forward. So what I'd like to see him do this time, right, is go round 5 miles an hour quicker, right?
Okay.
5 miles an hour quicker would be the right sort of speed to be thinking about going cross country. So we'd like him this time 5 miles an hour quicker, just moving on a little bit more.
Okay.
Into what I call, instead of a show jumping canter, a bit more of a cross country canter. That was brilliant, right? That was far more like cross country canter. Now, as we've said, if you want to go cross country, that's the sort of speed you need to be going at for the majority of your fences. Your technical fences, you have to be able to slow down for. So the most important job when you want to start going around a little cross country is for you to be able to identify what is the correct speed for each individual fence. So walking the course with your trainer, your coach, is absolutely essential, so that you get to know if you go at one fence at an inappropriate speed, like the water, all the confidence that you get by jumping the 17 others at an appropriate speed can be undone in a moment. So ever so important you understand what is an appropriate speed for each fence. You then need to be able to go from the steady speed into the quicker speed and back again. So what we're going to ask you to do for us is this. What we'd like to see you do is canter around in that nice cross-country speed. When you get to the gate, I'd like you to come back to your show jumping canter, right round the corner to the red flag here, and then back up into cross-country speed again.
Okay.
Right, so you're going cross-country speed as far as the gate, past the flags, round to the flag by the tree, and show jumping, and then open him up again.
Okay.
Up and down. What was so brilliant about that, David, was that the rhythm didn't change. The length of the horse's stride changes, but his rhythm doesn't. And at all levels, it doesn't matter whether you're competing or not. Rhythm is absolutely vital, because rhythm and balance go hand in glove. If your horse slows down and speeds up and faster, you are bound to be unbalanced. And when you're unbalanced, you unbalance him. And so, remember, one of you can't be unbalanced. If you're unbalanced, you must unbalance him, which must unbalance you, and so the spiral goes on. So the fact that he came back to you without an argument at all, kept the rhythm the same, just shortened his stride, and then lengthened again. And you, it's of no interest to you, but that's exactly what a dressage person does with their horse, right? They show medium canter and they show collected canter. Show jumping people are doing it all the time, shortening and lengthening their horse's canter. Cross country, Mark Todd is doing it. His horse goes across the field with a great long stride on it, comes to the water complex and shortens it up, but he keeps the same rhythm. And that's what makes the job so easy for you. If the horse keeps his rhythm, you keep your balance so much easier. So what we'd like him to do this time, right, he's going to go off in his cross-country canter, down to the next flag. He's then going to show jump canter round the two flags at the end, open him up again, show jump canter around the end flags and open up again.
Okay.
So you're going exactly just one step further with it now. So you're going up and down through the gears,
okay,
which is exactly what you'd have to do when you go cross country. Obviously that looks great in that you're able to go up and down through the gears easily. I feel you are now ready to go and do a little cross-country session, right? Putting into place exactly what you've got now, which is the control when there aren't any jumps. If you haven't got control when there aren't any jumps, you aren't going to have control when there is jumps. It's nice to see him in this rhythm and going like this for you. So if in doubt, be a little further back rather than in front. That applies again with the jumping. Of course, nobody wants to be back and have a short rein. If you're back and you have a short rein, you're going to remove the horse's teeth. A length of rein and be a fraction further back, and he can still have the freedom to jump, but you are far safer. Golden rule, cross country, don't be in front of the movement. If you're in front of the movement, you are going to eat grass. And the one thing we want to avoid is the no-na. We don't like that man at all. So, any questions on that, young lady?
No, that was fine. Excellent.
And we will arrange to take him cross country, and I think if you can transfer this over into the cross country environment, which is a logical step, This, if you like, is the step that I think people miss out. You know, they go from being able to go round in an enclosed space jumping a show jump to going out in a 25-acre field and try and jump cross-country fences. Have the control in the field without jumps first is a perfectly logical step.